Patty.
I'm Sean.
Kelly.
This
Today we're
week-
discussing what to expect financially in your real estate transaction.
That's right. Okay, so we're talking about when you're buying a house. It's not just the purchase price of the house. There are other expenses that come with it. Sometimes buyers are surprised by that, so we're going to dive into what those details are.
Yeah.
All right. So first thing we want to talk about is what can you expect with the cash to close? So that's the funds that have to be brought to the settlement table at time of settlement. To actually purchase the home. All right, so what's the first item?
Well, we've got your down payment, and that can be as low as, it actually can be 0%. We have 3% here, up to 20, or if you want to put more down, but that's your down payment, the percentage of the actual purchase price, and the rest is what's going to be financed.
Okay. Yep. So that is due at settlement. Next is your closing costs. Closing costs are the things like the legal filings, doing the loan fees, taxes, transfer fees, prorations, all these different items.
That varies by state.
Yes, it varies by state. And we usually advise our buyers for 3% on that. So this is on top of your down payment. So this will be part of your cash to close. Okay.
That's a good estimate.
Yep. And that is, of course, due at settlement.
Yes. Admin fees.
Yes.
Okay, this is for your realtor. Their brokerage, they typically charge an admin fee. They vary by broker. Some are like $4.95. I think we've seen $5.95. Ours is currently $3.95 with EXP. Last year, I think we charged $2.95 for it. But that's something you, the buyer, will have to pay. Note what you don't have to pay is our commission.
Yes.
We couldn't live on just the admin fee. We do get paid a commission for our services, but the seller pays that. So you don't have to worry about that part.
Okay. So those are the fees that are due. That's what we call the cash to close fees. Now, what do you have to pay for outside of settlement? Well, the first thing you have to pay is the earnest money deposit. Earnest money deposit is the deposit which shows good faith of a buyer to perform on a contract. That is usually due within 3 to 5 days of the contract ratification, which means that all parties have agreed to the contract. Within 3 to 5 days, depending on what we put into the contract, after ratification, you need to be prepared to deliver your earnest fee or your earnest money deposit to the title company.
Yeah.
That money goes into escrow. It does not go to the seller. That money does count as a credit towards your cash to close, down payment, closing costs, admin fee. And typically your earnest money deposit is going to be between 3 and 5% of the sales price.
And you determine that.
Yes.
We'll help you determine it. The seller wants it to be higher. It says you're more serious.
Yep.
You know, and like it's not really a risk as long as you don't default on the contract. Then that money is yours.
Yep. So it can be a strategic way to strengthen your offer without increasing your risk.
Yeah. And let's say, for example, a side note is, let's say you're a VA borrower and you are putting 0 down. If the earnest money deposit was higher than what you needed to put down with closing costs and everything else, you would get a refund right there at the settlement table.
Yep. Very good point. Okay. Next is
home inspection.
Yes.
This is outside of settlement. You're going to have to pay for this at the time of the inspection, typically, or within a day after, depending on the home inspection company. You want to go into the side note on the pre-offer inspections that we advise you guys to get sometimes?
So when we talked a lot about pre-offer inspection because that allows you to have the protections of an inspection and then go into the offer without an inspection contingency. So an inspection, depending on the size of the offer, an inspection contingency can, or an inspection can run you between $500, $750, even up to $1,200 for a really big house. When you do that inspection, you pay for each individual inspection. So if you're doing a pre-offer inspection and you don't win the property, you could end up doing multiple inspections. So that's just something to keep in mind. When you
we argued right before this. They were so mad at each other.
This is our coming together moment here, apparently.
I'm never coming together with you again.
No. So pre-offer inspection, that can be a risk of that. But the home inspection is due at the time of service. So you need to be prepared for that outside of escrow.
Home inspection is due at the time of service. The payment for the home inspection is due at the time of service. Not the home inspection is due at the time of
What's
service.
next? Oh, this
WDI.
is good. Insect.
You're an insect.
It's appropriate for you to do that. Okay.
They're wood-destroying organisms. Not every property needs this. For example, a condo on the fourth.
Insect is what we
I
call
said
it.
wood-destroying insect.
You said organism. I have it on tape. I can actually prove it.
Well, you know what? You're stuck in Florida where they said WDI. Here it's
No,
WDO
no,
with
it's
destroying organisms.
it's WDI here. It's WDO in Florida.
Lies. It's not true. You're full of it today.
Okay. Anyway, so what were you saying?
I quit. I'm not working with you anymore.
Okay.
You're backwards.
No, I'm right.
Anyway,
Because I always say
you don't always have to
I
have
always say
this.
WDO because I got used to saying that.
Do you know what a
Florida.
wood-destroying organism is?
It's a termite. Anyway, it's going to cost you $40 to get it done. It can be paid, 40-ish. It could be paid at settlement, or it could be paid
Words matter, Sean.
Oh.
Words matter.
They do matter, I'm sorry. And we forgot on home inspection, radon inspection may be a part of that home inspection. So that could be a part of the details on that.
Right. This does not include septic, or we have other inspections.
Yeah, septic and all that stuff. Yeah.
I'm just trying to one up you because
Any inspection, you have to pay for at time of service. Okay, next is my turn. Appraisal. For the appraisal, your lender will order that. They will order that as early in the contract as possible so you can receive the appraisal as quickly as possible.
Usually as soon as we send them the ratified contract, they're going to send you a link typically to pay for your appraisal. You're going to have to just totally overtalk you.
Well, you should because you're the lender. So I was like, I shouldn't be talking about this one. Anyway, go
they're
ahead.
going to send you a link for you to pay for that appraisal and do that quickly because they don't.
She won't let me kiss her when she's mad at me, so I figured I'd do it on camera. Anyway, go ahead.
Because the appraisal company can't actually assign the appraiser to the job until it is paid for. So you want to get that done quickly. A lot of times to be competitive with offers, we try to get the appraisal time down as low or as short as possible. So that's why that's very important. Paid for immediately.
Yep. So these are all items, again, that are outside of escrow. So you're looking at earnest money deposit. You have to make sure you're liquid enough to be able to come up with that money in the time frame. Home inspection, let's say it's $750, let's say $50 for the insect inspection. So now you're up to $800, and let's say $900. So you need to have about $2,000 outside of your escrow budgeted along with your earnest money deposit.
Right.
And that is it. So hopefully this is helpful. A lot of these fees quite often surprise people. They think that they just need to save up for their down payment, and that's all they need. And then they start doing the offer process and they didn't realize there's closing costs and all this other stuff. So do you have anything else to add? So if you
I was trying to think of something. I was like, do I get like cute and forgiving, or do I stick it to you a little bit more? And I couldn't decide, so I just kind of froze.
I'll take the freeze. No person's sticking it to me. So anyway, if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. Put it in the comments, and let's go ahead and go over the numbers.
And let's all agree that I'm right.
You're right. Well, you are right, and that is truthful. She's right. I was wrong on this one. Anyway, okay, here we go. On to the numbers. Okay, so here we are with this week's market report regarding going over and reviewing the last 7 days of the market. The general experience in the market is the same as it has been, where we're finding that properties that are priced right and are in good condition are moving very quickly with multiple offers. Open houses are getting a ton of traffic. We did an open house this weekend over in Reston, and we had 17 groups come through. So there's a lot of traffic happening at open houses. So there's definitely the buyer demand out there. But luckily it's a steady amount of buyer demand along with a steady amount of inventory. So the market, as you're going to see with the numbers here, has started to kind of settle in. It's settling into a strong seller's market, but it's settling in. It's not still increasing as far as the strength of the seller's market at this time. So let's go ahead and dive into the numbers and show you what that looks like. So you can see that our orange line, as always, is going to be our buyer activity. Let me get my little highlight ability here. Blue line is going to be inventory. So buyer activity, orange line is demand. Inventory, blue line is supply, which means that demand is higher than supply. So if demand is higher than supply, then what we end up with is increases in pricing and a seller's market. So this graph over here, the orange line indicates a neutral market. A line above the blue line above the orange line indicates a seller's market, and then below would indicate a buyer's market. So if you watch this, if you look from here to about here, you can see that on average, we've kind of settled into a seller's market at this point. You know, we've had some ups and downs, but we came up, then we came down, then we went back up and we settled back in. So it's, excuse me, we've kind of settled into this level of a seller's market. And you can see here, when we go back over here, this is market activity, and this is the strength of the seller's market. You can see that market activity was on a steady increase, and then it just kind of turned, and now it's at a steady level. So again, strength of the seller's market seems pretty steady, and so does market activity. Again, ups and downs, but if you average it out, we've got a steady pace. So there's no reason to accept this to change or expect this to change until we start to see the interest rates coming down, which we talked about last week. It looks like the Feds are going to maybe raise the interest rates one more time. And then at that point, we should start seeing the interest rates steadying off and then possibly coming back down. And when we see those interest rates coming back down, we're going to see activity moving in an upward direction and probably see the seller's market strength move into an upward direction. So what does that mean right now? Well, it means for sellers right now, sellers are still getting multiple offers. They're still getting above asking price. So it's a fantastic time for sellers to get into the market. And it's a time when you can do it before the inventory starts to kind of flood the market. Now, why would inventory flood the market when interest rates start to come down? Because a lot of the reasons why there's no inventory in the market right now is because sellers that have gotten the really low historic interest rates from the last several years can't get themselves to sell their property. If they want to move up or they want to move down, they're having a hard time letting go of a 2%, 3%, 3.5% interest rate to move into a 6.5% to 7% interest rate. But when we get into the fives, you know, a lot of the sellers that we've spoken to, when we start getting into the fives on the interest rate, these sellers are psychologically, that makes more sense to them, and they're able to go ahead and put their homes on the market. So as we get the interest rates coming down, we'll see inventory start to increase, which could be a good news for buyers, right? Because if we increase supply and don't increase demand, then it could move into a buyer's market. We could see prices stabilize and possibly come down a little bit. But the problem is that demand is also being suppressed by the interest rates. There is a large pool of shadow buyers that are waiting for the interest rates to hit the fives. As soon as those interest rates hit the fives, and as soon as these sellers start putting inventory on the market's going to get flooded with buyers, and demand will certainly be higher than supply, and activity will absolutely start to skyrocket, because we are at activity levels now, and our projected activity levels for this year are the level of 2008 when we had the market crash. Prices aren't coming down because it's just a low number of transactions. It's not a low number of transactions with high inventory. It's low number of transactions with low inventory. But as soon as that inventory starts to hit the market, those buyers flood the market. We're going to see a skyrocketing of the market activity, and we're going to see a skyrocketing of the strength of the seller's market. So right now, what I'm trying to say is right now, as a seller, it's a good time for you to put your property on the market because you have less competition. And if we can put it on and price it appropriately, you're going to get, you know, your price for it. Buyers, it's really a good time for you to buy, because as soon as those other buyers start flooding the market, we're going to get back into the 15, 20, 30 offers per property, versus right now we're, you know, fighting 2, 3, 4 offers. You know, we have occasional people that get over 10, but that's a very special property. So there's less competition for buyers. It's still a seller's market, but there's less competition for buyers. So it is a window of opportunity right now for both buyers and sellers to jump into the market. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. Would also appreciate anybody's feedback. And this is how we see the market. This is what we're seeing out there in the field every day. If you have another opinion, or if you feel like you're seeing something different, please feel free to post that in the comments as well. I'm happy to address any differences of opinion. All right, we will see you on next week's market report. Hopefully this prepares you as you go forward into the market for this weekend. And if you have any questions, again, please let us know in the comments. Talk to you soon. Bye.